Well, every night here on Fox 9 On Your Side, we like to take a closer look at the weather.
And maybe even learn a few things while we're at it. And, you know, well, always about this time of year, they start doing those snowpack checks up in the mountains.
Because everyone wants to know,
how everything's shaping up in the reservoirs. And how's it looking so far?
That's right. You know, depending on how high up the elevation is where that snow is being measured, the different basins that are measured here, the snow's elevations are generally so high. The Boise Basin average peak of the snow is right around April 2nd, and then it usually starts to melt off. We may get some of those late season snows in the higher elevations, but so we're basically, what we see now is what we've got for the year for the most part. And then of course during the spring, if we get extra water, an extra wet spring, then the stream flow forecast might be a little bit increased. But here's where we're sitting right now. You look in the yellow category, not the best, 60 to 79% of average. You see it right here, the Weiser-Payette basins and the Boise Basin are close to 70%. That's 30% below where they should be for this time of year. So not the best of news. However, last year we had a lot of snow, and so there's water left in the reservoirs from last year, and that's key. So we'll have no problems with our water season this year in the Treasure Valley. 60% of the Oahe Basin, higher amounts up on the higher elevations, 94% though in the Bruno Basin. Up north doing well, close to average at the Panhandle. In eastern Idaho, very important. This is nice right up here, the Upper Snake Highlands, 95% of average. So we have a pretty typical snowpack in eastern Idaho, but it's been a little bit dry in the west. Want to take a look at that forecast here, starting out now with 8 to 14 days. Cold in the east. The B here is below normal in the temperatures, especially in this region here for the 8 to 14 day outlook. And that's okay, because if you like milder weather, look at this right here. Above average temperatures expected over the next 8 to 14 days. Precipitation wise, there'll be showers mostly to the south of Idaho, so we could use some rain up here. We're not going to get it, so to be drier and milder than average over the next 8 to 14 days. I'm pretty confident about that. If you look at the precipitation over the next 3 months, we're talking generally dry weather here in the west, and the only real wet location will be up generally in the Great Lakes states. So when you average weather over a long period of time, you get climate. And how has the climate been? What's the drought situation? Well, you see the darker reds and browns. This is where the drought is a real problem right here. When you look at the scale, drought is exceptional. This D4 is the brown showing up. We're sitting in the Treasure Valley, a little light brown here. That's D1. So drought is actually in the moderate category, pretty close to the Treasure Valley, just to the south here. It's hard to read in this map. You see some yellow here, abnormally dry, and then it's fine northern Idaho and Washington as well. What's the outlook for the drought situation in the coming months? And you see the brown here, it's likely to stay persistent or maybe intensified. So it could intensify a little bit here in the Treasure Valley. Best place to get help will be in the northern plain states, where they could really use it. So generally dry in the west is the forecast, guys, and we could enjoy it. We can't really complain about it because there's nothing we can do about it. We can enjoy the mild weather anyway, but we'll get that moisture hopefully here in the west at some point.
We can complain about it.
Yes, we can. And we do, right?
And
All right.
we do.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Well, Roland, I don't know if you know this, but you can learn a lot about a person, apparently, based on how they use their smartphone.
Really?
Yes.
Well, a simple password protection can keep those habits private, but where you use your phone, not so easy to hide, and it may reveal more than you realize. So let's check it out tonight. A new study shows tracking a person's phone use by GPS is enough to figure out their identity. MIT researchers tracked more than 1 million people for 15 months, and they determined that by tracking as few as 4 places where a person used their phone, they could identify them. Wow. Those places could be an office, the gym, church, or even a coffee shop. Tracing those places on a map creates a virtual fingerprint that's unique to every person. Study authors say their research shows even keeping a person's data private does not ensure real privacy.
That's why you should just keep your flip phone. Don't even worry about the smartphone.
Right, don't get a smartphone.
Don't. Well, it is one of television's biggest hits, and it stars Idaho native Aaron Paul. But Breaking Bad is gearing up for its final season.
And the show's producers are hoping the internet is not about to be flooded with spoilers after a script was stolen from a cast member's car.